All right, everybody. Well, welcome to our second Back to the Basics Zoom training call. I'm so excited because tonight we are going to be going over something that I think a lot of people struggle with, and that is messaging. And so we have got someone who I love who's going to go over this for us tonight. We've got Bree Leach. She is a Ruby ambassador, and she is going to give us her best tips for messaging our potentials. Bree? Bree? Oh gosh, the suspense. Well, gosh, does anyone have any jokes in the meantime? Hey, Bree? Well, this is unexpected. So we're just gonna wing it until Bree can hop on. I'm gonna send her a message real fast and we will get going. Okay, I see her computer turning. We're in luck. Okay, Bree, we are ready to go.
Awesome. Like, are we on now or?
Yeah, we've been recording.
Sorry, my phone must have been on silent. I'm really sorry about that. So, anyway, thank you, Megan, very much for having me on. I'm a little bit flustered, but I really appreciate you asking me to talk about messaging. I'm really passionate about messaging because I feel like I have made every mistake there is to make. So I've learned several things the hard way, and I've tried really, really hard to improve my messaging skills. So we're going to talk a little bit about our warm messaging, our warm contacts, as well as our cold contacts. But before we talk any more about messaging, I just want to say that getting people in person is usually like the most effective way. So if you can talk to somebody in person, it's always best to take it offline as quickly as possible. But we can't, all meet, 3 people a day to talk to about the business. So messaging is very important, and it's something that I have a personal goal of doing myself every single day. So the best way to learn is to just jump in and just do it and put yourself out there and start reaching out to people. You'll end up tweaking your messages as you go, and you'll learn what works and what doesn't work. But it's really important that you start messaging people immediately. Don't feel like you have to wait to figure out the most perfect message to send, because my message that I send people, it changes for every person and for every situation. So that kind of leads into my next point. There is no one message that you're going to be able to send out to all of your contacts that's going to sound natural and that's going to work for everyone. I was looking so hard for a message that I could just send out to like 200 people and just have to change their name because I wanted those really, really fast results. Like I wanted to build my team right now. But what happens when you mass message people like that is it comes across as insincere, and it comes across as very ungenuine, and if that's a word. And so what happens is you kind of turn people off, and we don't want that. In the book Go Pro by Eric Worre, he talks about being a farmer versus being a hunter. And if you're a hunter, you go out there and you like clobble somebody over the head and you drag them back to your cave, and you have that one person, and it's hard to be a hunter because it's not sustainable. And whether or not you just go out there and shoot at something and actually hit something, it's always it's not very reliable. But if you're a farmer, you go out and you plant seeds, and you water them, and you help them grow. So we want to be farmers, and we want to plant those seeds. So when we're reaching out, we really need to make sure that we're doing a few things. We need to make sure that we're sounding like ourselves. If you're not a salesperson, don't turn into one on Facebook Messenger. If you're sending out things like join my team for $34.95, or you only have to sell to 5 people in order to get your products paid for, you're going to turn people off. They don't like being sold to. So if you read your message and you ask yourself, would I even answer this message? That's usually a pretty good rule of thumb as far as the tone of your message. You also want to make it personal. It may take an extra few minutes to make it personal and make it fit that person, but it does make a huge difference. You need to know your audience. So for instance, somebody like me, before Plexus, I drank coffee all of the time. And I was always complaining about how I didn't get enough sleep at night and how I need more energy. So, if somebody would have come to me with Plexus about, the boost, or, about the block, I probably wouldn't have been very interested, because I didn't work out, and I eat pretty healthy. But if they would have come to me and talked to me about energy or making money from Plexus, then I would have been a lot more inclined to see what they had to say, because I knew that they were paying attention to my needs. So if you can tie it into something that somebody has said on their Facebook page, that's really important. Excuse me. Another thing that we don't want to do is we don't want to spam our friends. So if you message somebody back to back once, that's fine. So like if I send out my message to somebody and I say, hey, so-and-so, and then I bring up Plexus and I don't hear from them, the next day I can message them back and say, hey, just want to check in and see if you got my message. I know life can get crazy busy. Just checking in to see how you're doing, or just checking to see if you got my message. That's fine. But if you're messaging people 3 and 4 times a week and they're not responding, then you're spamming them. You're no longer following up. So try to, hold off and not blow up everybody's phone. So my big rule of thumb is I always try, if I haven't heard from them in a while, I always try to do like 3, 4, 5 weeks, depending on who it is and their personality. Some people you're just going to message less often than others. But great things to message people about are if there's a special, if your team is doing a special, or if you're doing a special, that's a really good time to follow up with your contacts. If you see that they are having issues, if maybe they're a single mom and they're having issues making ends meet, you can find a Diamond documentary and send it to them. So that's another reason to follow up. Our new products. So Block was just reformulated and now we have Edge. So you can definitely follow up with somebody with information about the Block or the Edge. Simply say, hey girl, just want to check in with you. I'm so excited about this new product. I think you're going to love it. I know how you love your Red Bull, but I know how you hate how they make you feel all jittery and then you crash at the end. I've got a product that you're going to love because I love it too, and it's way less expensive than Red Bull. That is the type of message that's going to get people's attention. And it's something that is relevant and it's a new reason to follow up with somebody. A few ways that you can lead into it. So if you message that person several times and you've never heard back from them, don't feel like you have to stop messaging them. Olivia, who joined me several months ago, not quite a year ago, she had I had messaged her several times and she hadn't responded back. And so I just kept messaging her because I knew it was like once a month or so I would message her because I knew that she would be amazing at the business. So I really built belief in her. And I really, like, I told her what about her I thought would help her be so successful with Plexus. So building that belief in people before they even join is really important. That brings me to my next point. Don't just talk about what you're going to get out of it, because if you're doing that, you're missing the whole point. You need to be talking about them and what it will help them do. So I've seen people do it, not so much with Plexus, but they'll say like, my friend challenged me to meet this goal. That's just, it's a kind of a hard place to come from, especially from Plexus, because our goal is to help people reach their own health and financial needs. So try to keep the person that you're messaging, keep them at the forefront of your mind, and talk about them and ask them specific questions. Ask them how they're doing, even non-Plexus questions, how their kids are. You don't want to be all business, but in the same message, you can ask them, how are you feeling? Or ask them what their health goals are. So just make sure you're thinking about that person. For a warm contact, this is if you're a new ambassador, or this is what you can share with a new ambassador that just joined. You can have them send this type of message out. So it's a short and sweet message. And the first part is just very personal. So it's like, hey girl, I haven't seen you in so long. How are your kiddos? I love the pictures of cheerleading practice on Facebook. Looks like she's having a blast. And then you can build the excitement and say, oh my goodness, I just joined this really awesome company called Plexus. And I'm already seeing amazing results. I feel so much better than I have in months. And I'm just like bursting with energy. Have you ever heard of Plexus? And that's the third thing. End with a question. Have you ever heard of Plexus? It's a really easy way to bring up Plexus, but in a totally not salesy, not in your face type of way. That usually gets you a good response. People will either say, yes, I've heard about it, my sister does it, or no, I've never heard of it. What is that? So after that, if this is a warm market person again, you'll want to take it offline as quickly as possible. So if there's somebody that's local, you can say something like, oh my gosh, I can't believe you haven't heard of it. It's crazy awesome. How about we get coffee and chat? And again, you're going to end it with a question, and you'll say, how does Tuesday at 3 work for you? And ending with a question gets people to respond. So if you just end it with a sentence, people aren't as likely to respond. When we're talking in conversation, a lot of times we're asking each other questions, or we're saying something, but saying it in a way that would prompt a response. So in messaging, we have to be more clear about ending with a question, asking a question, so that we're more likely to get people to respond back to us. And be bold in trying to get them on the phone or in person. You definitely, when you're in person, it's a lot more effective. So that's the type of message that I would send out for the first contact for a brand new ambassador, or if I have a new ambassador sign up, that's the type of message I would have them send out. So moving on to cold market. I had a very small market before I joined Plexus, like very, very small. Most of my network was on Facebook, and I only had like maybe 300 friends. So the majority of my messaging has been cold messaging to people that I have never met in person, people that I've never, talk to. Maybe I know them vaguely through a friend of a friend. A lot of my messaging has been cold market messaging. So research is key. You have to know who you're talking to. So if you know who you're talking to, you're more likely to know what their why would be, and then you can hone in on that and kind of steer the conversation towards plexus in that area, whether it's financial or health or just wellness. So the best thing to do is to build relationships. Again, we want to be farmers. We don't want to be hunters. Before I learned this, I sent out a lot of messages that were like the mass message, and I probably alienated a lot of people. So if you have done something like that, if you have messaged, several people, maybe even 100 people, all with a pretty much same message, and you haven't made it personal, it's okay. You did not ruin that contact. We all live and we all learn. One thing that I have done with some success is I have messaged them back, a couple months later when I realized that I shouldn't have messaged everybody like that. And I say something like, hey, I just wanted to apologize. I didn't mean to sound so salesy. And then depending on how well I know them, like if they're cold market, I wouldn't say this, but if they're your warm market, if you've done it to your warm market, you can say, I really value you in our relationship. I just got so excited. So that's what I always say. I just got so excited I couldn't hold back. So if they're a cold market person, then I end it with something like, have you ever heard of Plexus? If they're a warm market person, I end it with, I'd love to catch up and chat. Would you like to grab coffee sometime? Or would you like to get the kids together sometime? So back to the cold market. So it's best to build relationships first, and then let Plexus come up naturally. So sometimes what you have to do is ask them questions to kind of guide and direct the conversation to where you end up talking about Plexus. So simple things are like, what do you do for a living? Or how do you like your job? How have you been doing? A lot of times if you say, how have you been doing, people will tell you how they feel. If they've had a baby, you can ask them how they're recovering, or how, their little one's doing. Does their little one sleep through the night? That'll probably lead to a conversation that they're very sleep deprived. Excuse me. Those are some different things that I do with my cold market. And I'm going to read you a message that I actually sent to Eden. He's an awesome ambassador that just joined us about 2 months ago. And Eden and I did not know each other. I actually had a friend, a really good friend, a dream teamer who tried the products for 7 days and wasn't loving it. And so when I realized that she just was not going to join Plexus at any time in the future or near future, I went onto her page, and I anybody that I saw that we had mutual friends, or that I just saw that I felt like would be really good at the business, or people that I just really wanted to get to know, I friended them, and Eden was one of those people. So after I had been friends with Eden for quite a while, I messaged her out of the blue. We'd never had a conversation before. So I said, hey, Eden, I just wanted to say that I love all the pics of your kiddos. They are all so stinking cute. I'm going to have to check out the library. I didn't know they had crafty things like that. She just put up a post of her kids' little fairy pots that they had gotten from the library. I don't know if you know this, but I'm growing my business with Plexus, and we have natural plant-based supplements that help people who are diabetic, have chronic pain, an autoimmune disorder, or have some weight they would like to lose. It's also a great business opportunity, so if you know anyone that could benefit from making an extra $500 to $1,000 a month, could you please pass my information along to them, because I would love to help them get healthy and make extra income from home like I have. Thank you so much. So that's another great thing to do, is to talk about if they know somebody, ask for the referral. Asking for the referral is They may just say, oh yeah, I have several people in mind. Or they may say, hey, me, So what she ended up saying was, I'll keep Plexus in mind. She responded to my regular message and then said, I will keep Plexus in mind. So really quickly, I want to wrap this up. I don't want to take too much of your time. Things that we want to avoid is being salesy, saying join my team. You only need to sell to 5 people. You might think I'm crazy, but I hope you don't think this is weird. If you say either of those things, they're automatically going to think it's weird, and they're automatically going to think that you're crazy. So don't even put that in their brain. You might not be interested. You just gave them a way out. You just said, look, you're probably not going to be interested. Don't even respond to me. You might be too busy. Again, you just gave them another excuse. So just remember, we are offering people the moon. It's about them. It's not about us. And lastly, 3-way messaging is really powerful. So use your upline. If somebody joins, let's say if you're brand new listening to this call, you probably are so overwhelmed with all the information about our products in the business, you don't even know where to start. And you know what? That's okay. We all start like that. The great thing is you have an upline that's probably on Facebook. So if you have somebody asking questions about the products, get them on a 3-way chat with your upline. If they're asking about the business, get them on a 3-way call with your upline. If they're asking about the business and they can't get on a call, open up a 3-way chat. You can learn how to respond to different questions, and you learn and they learn at the same time. So sorry that was so windy. I will turn it back over to Megan.
All right. Thank you so much, Bree, for sharing. I so appreciate it, and I know that everyone else does too. Just to reiterate some of the great points that Bree made, I think some of the most important are be personable. Don't sound generic, because I think everyone here probably, I know I've received them so many times. Like, I receive messages from other direct sales companies, and I can just tell, like, you copied and pasted it, like you didn't even include my name in it. Like, so I know that you just copied and pasted this long line because it's so not relatable to me. So we don't want to be that. We want to be, that we are doing this because for you, we want to change your life, not to change my life. And then also speak belief into people. When I message people, I try and already tell them, like, you would be so great at this. So they're already thinking like, maybe I would be good at this. And then finally, something that I think is so important is, not that negative talk in the message. Like Bree said, like, you might think I'm crazy or sorry to bother you, because you should not apologize at all for what you are offering people. You are offering people a life-changing opportunity. Never, ever apologize for it or make excuses for what you're offering to them, because and you really downplay what you can provide to people, and that's not what you want. So just to put that out there one more time. But I so appreciate all of your time and Bree's time. Thank you so much, Bree, for sharing. And I hope you all have a great night, and we'll see you next month for another Back to the Basics.